There was a season, I would say last year or even the year before, where I was constantly praying to God and saying, I've lost the joy I had of raising my children. Everyone is a perfect mother until they become an actual mother. Everyone knows what they're going to do when a child is on the floor of Walmart crying and screaming. We could complain and say that motherhood is hard, and it is, but it's hard, but there's still the joy. It's not easy to be a mother. The whole process, like a lot of people will say that when you're pregnant, you're between, like, you have one foot in the gates of that and one foot in the gate of life or something like that. And that's because it's a hard occurrence. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Busy Mom Get It Done podcast. Oh my goodness, and happy 2026. I cannot believe that we are in a new year, and I hope and pray that your new year is going really, really well. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming back and joining me back on this podcast. I have taken a much needed break and now we are back and ready for action. Thank you so much for joining me. In case you don't know, in case you've seen my face for the first time, my name is Esther Shittu. I am the host of the Busy Moms Get It Done podcast, where we talk to moms who are interested in not only being moms, but also pursuing their passions. I've spent the last month thinking about what I want to do with this podcast, and I've come to the conclusion that I just don't want to be a podcast for every working mom. I want to be a podcast for moms who just happen to work, if that makes sense. And you're like, what the hell does that mean? Well, what does that mean? Um, I want to be a podcast where, working is important, but we all know that children are very important. And I want moms who understand that, right? Who understand that, yes, it's important to be a worker, but it's mostly important to be a mom. It's most important in how you show up as a mom and in what you do to take care of yourself as a mom. So thank you, thank you, thank you for those who are joining me. Thank you, thank you, thank you for those who are seeing my face once again. Oh my goodness. Happy New Year. Like I said at the beginning, I am so ready to get back into, having guests join me on the show. And I have a few that I'm very excited about, that I hope that every one of you guys will see and will like and will enjoy. But today it's all about me. I am the guest. It is moi. I am my favorite guest on the show. And this is not only my first episode of the year 2026, this is also the episode where I kind of wanted to reflect, because 2026 is the year that makes 5 years since I started this journey called motherhood. It is the year where it marks 5 years. I cannot believe 5 years have gone by, and in those 5 years, God has been God has been faithful. God has been God. It has been a very interesting 5 years. And I thought that I would take this episode kind of reflecting on some of the myths or some of the perception of motherhood that I had as before I had a kid 5 years ago, and how it has shifted and how I have shaped, and also and how I have changed, and also some of the perception that I feel like we have in society today of motherhood, and how I think that perhaps we should look at it through a different lens. So, one of the first perception that I had of motherhood was that it would be all joy and rosy all the time. There is this idea that it's going to be all cute, all baby, all everything all the time, and you won't have to choose joy. And that was my perception of motherhood. I never thought about this idea that you would have to choose joy. And I think that 5 years in, I can honestly say that sometimes when it comes to raising humans, you have to choose joy. You have to go to God and pray that you need the joy of raising humans. There was a season, I would say last year or even the year before, where I was constantly praying to God and saying, I've lost the joy I had of raising my children. And obviously, I had all toddlers. And so that comes with its own difficulties. But I literally had to pray to God and say, God, I need the joy that comes with raising my children back. I want the joy of raising my children back. And it comes with, it's basically the idea of you have to choose your heart. We could complain and say that motherhood is hard, and it is, but it's hard, but there's still the joy in it. There's still the moments of like the silliness. There's still the moments of celebrating your children. There's still the moment of being there for your kids and seeing the joy of it, seeing the blessing that it is. Not just being like, oh, he's hard. He's so hard. This is not what I thought it would be. And yes, this is not what I thought it would be. But it's even better than I thought it would be. There is a joy that comes from me when I see my kids playing together, or when they do something sweet, or when they write me a love note. I was like, I love you. So I think that one of the things that I would say that I didn't perceive was the idea that I had to choose that my joy. I had to pray to God that I do not want this to be something where it's burdensome, because it is a blessing. I think that's, if anything, I want my audience, I want anyone who's going to listen to me to think is that I love motherhood. I love being a mother, and I want people who are, listening to this podcast, who are watching this podcast, to love motherhood. I want you to love being a mother. It is a blessing. And I guess that will lead me to my next perception, in that motherhood is not something to be celebrated. And this is not a perception that I have. I think this is a perception that I see in today's audience, or in today's world, is that a lot of people are choosing not to have children because of so many reasons. Now, don't get me wrong. If you do not want to have a child, do not force yourself to have a child. This is a hard job. This is a job for people who are willing to be selfless, who are willing to not think about self all the time. And it takes time to realize that if I want to have children, I need to be selfless, not self-full. And there's nothing wrong if you're like, I just want to think about myself. Be honest with yourself. However, there is a difference between, oh, I see this and this is a hard job, versus I see this and I just think that no one should be like, we don't need more kids in this world. Motherhood, or being a mom, it's not a burden. It is absolutely a blessing. I think that I have always had the perception that it's not easy being a mom. And I'm not talking about the day to day. I'm talking about the fact that, yes, it seems in today's society, especially if you live in America and you grew up in a world where like single moms, or you grew up in a world of teen mothers, where it seems like everyone who did the deed, everyone who had sex, just became a mom. It brings up the perception that you can just, as long as you just lay down flat on your back, you just automatically became a mom. And I don't agree with that. I don't think that is the truth. I know how hard it is, how it is such a miracle. I said this at the very beginning stage of when I had my child, and I said to someone, I was a couple of people, I said, I don't think it's easy, for people to quote unquote procreate and conceive. It's not that easy. I don't think that it's a happy chance or a happy coincidence that a child was created or a child was born. I think it is divine providence. I think it is God guiding those two people together. Now, is everyone supposed to procreate? No. Is everyone supposed to have a child together? No. We make choices, and that choices obviously lead to natural consequences. But I still think that God allows those natural consequences to happen for a reason. I think that God allows a child to be formed for a reason. I think that when a child is formed, when there is procreation together, it is by divine it is a divine moment that has happened. It is not everyone that gets the chance to have a child. It's not easy. We really don't think about the fact that a woman body has a little bit of a window of time for a child to form inside her womb, for cells to come together, for her and a man to come together to form. And we sometimes take that thing for granted, that we think that everyone can be a mom or everyone can be parents, or it's so easy for people to get pregnant. It's not. Especially in my generation and the millennial generation, we've seen so many women who are having problems with fertility. We're seeing so many women who are having problems being able to have children. And so to say it's not a blessing or to kind of downplay motherhood, I think it's not a good thing. And I understand that yes, people might not want to be parents for financial reasons, not wanting to be single parents. I understand that. But it's not an easy occurrence. I will stand by that perception that I still believe that it is a divine occurrence. It is something that happens. And let's even forget the fact that, you know, you have a child or you procreated with someone you weren't supposed to or whatever, and you suddenly got pregnant. For 9 months, your womb was in the divine, like was perfect enough for you to go through month one, month two, month three, month four, month five, month six, all the way to 40 weeks. And you still were able to push that baby out. Like that is divine strength. That is the intentionality of the Lord Jesus Christ. I think that it is not easy to be a mother. The whole process, like a lot of people will say that when you're pregnant, you're between like you have one foot in the gates of that and one foot in the gate of life or something like that. And that's because it's a hard occurrence. It changes a lot of women's body. It changes a lot of things. People gain weight. People lose themselves. It is hard, and so it's easy to be a mom, but it's not easy. And so I would always like people to perceive that children are a blessing. Everyone who has a child, everyone who got the chance to experience parenthood or motherhood should look at their children through the lens of a blessing, which is why when I was experiencing that season in my life, I was like, where I was losing the joy. My prayer was, God, I need the joy back. I need God. Please give me back the joy of being a mom, because no matter what was going on in my life at that time, my children will continually be a blessing. They are the blessing that God has given unto me. The Bible says, um, blesses the person whose quiver is full of them. And I had it explained to me one time when I was listening to a podcast, and it was like, your quiver might be two. Your full quiver might be two. Your full quiver might be one. Your full quiver might be three. It might be four. It might be five. It might be six. But the fact that you have a quiver of children is a blessing. Now, God blesses us in other ways, and children are not the only ways that God blesses us. That's not the conversation here. But as a mom, I have always had the perception, and I don't like the idea or the perception that perhaps I see in today's world that children are not a blessing. Now, my third perception that I had, and I think of motherhood that I don't think was good, was that, it's easy to raise kids. And I really used to be judgmental of people whose kids will go out in public and act a fool. I will like be like, well, why can't they, why can't they, take care of their kids? Why can't they like make them stop? And the just like it's not easy having a child physically, I would say it's not easy raising children because you can have children, right? I know I just went through this old thing of like, it's not easy having children, but you can have children. But the intentionality of raising children, right? Raising them to be like, Nick, stop. This is the right way to go. This is the wrong way to go. Having that intentionality and also it's hard when you are raising them in a way that you think is right because as mothers, we are their first examples as parents. We're the first examples that our children see. And as you grow, your perception grows. The person I was 5 years ago is sincerely not the person I am now. It is completely a different Esther. The Esther I was 5 years ago was very innocent. The Esther I am 5 years later, unfortunately, is not innocent. My innocence has been long gone and lost, and I grieve that, but it's also shaped me in the person that I am today. So I am shifting. When I had my first child, I was very much like, oh my goodness, I love this baby. It's going to be great. Like we are going to we're going to gentle parent. We're going to do this, we're going to do that. And I was able to keep that. I wanted to um, what was it? I wanted to clot diaper, and I did a little bit, but I couldn't. I wanted to do emanciation communication or something like that, and I wanted to, but it was just hard. However, that guided my principal and did a lot of things. There were so many things I wanted to do because I was just innocent in the idea of what it means to be a mother. And as a baby, when a child is a baby, they are very innocent. But as they become a toddler, you realize the flaws that is humanity. Because the thing that you tell them not to do is the exact thing that they're going to do. And I don't blame them for it because I'm exactly the same way. I am a flawed human being. The thing that God tells me not to do is the thing that I end up doing, and I'm praying to God for that. But all that to say is that when you are a mom, you think, oh, before you are a mom, you think everything is easy. I've heard it said it this way, right? Everyone is a perfect mother until they become an action mother. Everyone knows what they're going to do when a child is on the floor of Walmart crying and screaming until they get to the point and their mother and their child is actually on the floor crying and screaming like, child, like, what do you do? What is wrong with you? And it requires intentionality. It requires you raising your kids as a Christian. I literally, again, a prayer was mine is God, I want to raise these kids the way that you want me to raise them. I want to be gentle, and we're working on that. I want to be intentional. Raising kids is raising yourself. When you're raising that child, you're raising yourself. You're teaching yourself the guiding and the way that you will want a human being to grow in this world, right? And you learn and you grow and you shift. I know a lot of people will say that often the reason when you have your first, you're a little bit harder on them, but by the time you have your third, your fourth, your fifth, you're easier on them. I think part of it is the fact that parents are becoming a little bit tired, but also I think it's because you learn what really matters and what really doesn't matter, right? Do I really need to freak out that you decided that you want a second or third toy if that's not really the important thing? No. Do I really need to freak out that you wanted to, you learn what to filter out, what is important. Um, and it's hard raising children. You have to be on top of them. You have to be able to reiterate once, twice, three, four, fifth, 10 times. And there are people who are good with like obey me the first time. And there are people who are not good with obeying me the first time. There's a lot of grace that needs to be given to children. Each child is different. Some children are good to be like, you look at them and look and you say, if you don't get off the floor, we will have a problem. And some kids are like, I don't care how you look at me. I don't care what you do at me. I'm not getting up the floor until you answer this need. I have both types of kids. I have both types of kids. I have a kid that's like will listen for the most part. She has tested the authority and found out not to test it. And I have a kid that's like tested the authority and be like, my emotions matter right now. Listen and pay attention to that. And I have to learn to cater to both. Um, you have to learn to cater to both. So my perception of like it's easy, you just have to raise them a certain way because the way my mom raised me is definitely a little bit different than the way I'm raising my kid. And the way I reason it is this: we all have different graces. I cannot raise my kid the way my mom raised me. It will not work. It will never work because our grace is different. What God has allowed her to do for me to respond in the way that I responded to her is different from the way that I can do for to my kids. They may not respond the way that I respond because we are dealing with 2 or 3 individual people. And so having kids is easy, raising them is hard. And so that is another myth or perception that I had. Now, another perception that I had about raising children is that you kind of, I don't think I have this perception. I think that I kind of feel like society makes it seem like you can run full speed ahead at 2 different things. And while my desire with this podcast is to show women who are balancing being a mom and being workers in one capacity or the other, that might be like entrepreneurship or whatever. I think that one of it thing that I had to realize, and I realized it really this year really, is that you have to choose the kind of parent you want to be. And I say it this way: we can't be both. Motherhood in one way or another is going to change you. There's a perception, and I see it today, in that motherhood is not going to change us, right? We see it in the way that people talk about snapping back. As soon as a woman has a child, we're going to snap back. I had that perception too. I would say I wanted to go back down to the weight that I was. And it's been a difficult journey because first of all, I've had a kid back to back to back. Second of all, I've just had so many things emotionally, and I'm an emotional heater. And so I've had to curb that. So, and also like when it comes to career, you can move at the same speed that you were. I know how hard or how fast I could run without my children. Now, I don't know if I would actually run as fast because I didn't have kids, because I know that my kids gave me purpose. My kids not gave me purpose, God gave me purpose. My kids shaped or sharpened my focus. And I think there is a perception that when you have kids, it's okay to kind of like they'll be fine. Just go after what you want and they'll be fine. Yes, they will be fine. Just do go after what you want, but they may not be fine. And remember when I was talking about raising kids in the beginning? Or a second ago, when you are raising kids, you have to be presently raising children. Um, there is a period or a time where our children, I fully believe this with my full chest, they need us. I know that kids are resilient. Trust me, my kids are resilient. They've gone through a lot that they shouldn't have to go through in their short years. But if we can avoid mm, um activating the resilience in them, we should. And I say this in terms of you should be able to choose your heart, like I mentioned. You should be able to realize the kind of mother that you want to be. It is going to be hard to have a child not have help or not have as much help and go full speed ahead. Um, I hate to say this. It's going to be hard to have a child and be working 40 to 60, 80 hours a week. Something is going to suffer. That's part of the reason I take a break. It's hard for me to be raising 3 kids and having a work and to do a podcast. Do I want to take breaks? No. Do I see other people like forging full speed ahead? Yes. Does it make me feel some kind of way? Yes, I am human. God is working on me, okay? But it is also a testament to the kind of mother that I want to be. I wanna be present. I want like, my prayer to be able to raise my children, they are a blessing. So, they are an investment. They are the greatest investment I will ever make into this world. You know, I can't give my life for them. Jesus already did that, but I can be present. I can raise them. And so there is a trade off, right? And there is a time where you have to orient. And I think I would say I knew this your life around the kind of mom that you wanted to be. Before I even had children, I always thought, I think I'll just work nights because if I work nights, then I could be there for my kids whenever they come home from school because I kinda understood that I wanted to be present, right? That's not to say that people who have to do what they have to do, there's anything wrong with that. That is to say that you have to work towards the kind of person and the mom that you wanna be. We have to choose a job, and I think that's a lot of the things that I hear the guests that I have on say is, like, they chose the job that allows them to be the kind of moms that they want to be. There are things that happen in life. There are seasons in life where you have to just you cannot be hungry. Like I would say, if you don't work, you don't eat. And I would say that to my kids too. If I don't work, I don't eat. There are seasons, but at the same time, we have to orient our lives to this type of, moms that we want to be. And I think the perception in society where it's like you can work a full 9 to 5 and be a present mom and raise kids. Yes, there are people who do that um but it's hard. It is hard and something will suffer. Now, pick the company that's going to let you be the mom you want to be. Pick the job that's going to let you be the mom you want to be. And as I'm saying that, I'm reminded that not everyone has that choice or that ability, but we have to work towards it. It's not about what you can do today. It's about what you can do in the future. It's about how you orient yourself. It's about making yourself available on the weekends, making yourself available on certain days, being like, okay, I'm not going to work these days. These are the days that I'm just going to fully spend with my kids. I feel like there are, especially because I'm Nigerian and I know the culture where I come from, the culture is money oriented. At least the generation that I grew up in is very money oriented and we're focusing so much on money. And I think we see the fruits of that in the parents that are my age right now and that they recognize that money is not going to solve the actual idea of raising your kids. I am reminded of, I've been going through the books of the Kings, First Kings, Second Kings, and Chronicles right now. And one of the things that I noticed as a Bible believing Christian going through these Bibles is the fact that you have generations. The king devoted to God, the child completely goes away from God. The king devoted to God, the child completely devoted to God. And I went to God and I'm like, God, why? What is going on? Why is it that we have a king devoted to God, the child goes away from God? Like, or like, what is the factor? I don't really know the answer right now. I'm still figuring it out. But my prayer is that my children will not go away from God, right? And so I'm like, whatever God I need to do, whatever kind of mom that I need to be, that my children are completely in line with you and completely devoted to you. That's the kind of mom that I want to be. Like, we are raising children. It is honestly the best job in the world. It is the greatest job in the world. We get to shape the mind and the heart of the next generation. I've heard it said like this: your child's childhood is in your hands, right? My first child is about to turn 5 years old. And there are so many things that I did in that first 5 years that if I could, I would redo it, right? But the blessing and the greatness of God is by His grace, by His power, I will prayerfully still have more years to shape her mind, to shape her years, to push her into the person that will benefit the kingdom of God and also benefit society. And so sometimes that means we have to trade off. Sometimes that means there has to be a change in passions and desires. A lot of times society will say, well, how come she got a degree and she suddenly wants to be a stay-at-home mom? Because she recognized what was important. I'm not advocating for stay-at-home moms one way or another. I think that do you. Um, or I'm not advocating for working moms. That's why I said this is a busy mom get it done, which means the mom that loves her kids but is working to better herself. We need to do both. There has to be a both, but there's still a trade-off. We can't do both at full speed ahead. It's literally a juggling act, right? But a lot of times when the reason women end up shifting or changing after having children is because they change. Our bodies change. You don't go through the act or the season of birthing a child, growing a child, and not change. Your body change, your brain change, your emotion change. You go through a lot in those seasons. You carried a person, a human being who's gonna form their own ideas and their own thinking and their own ideology. So you had that all in you, your emotion, their spirit, all within you, and you birth them. You will change. Your passions might change. Your body will definitely change. Yes, you may be able to go back to the person you are. Yes, you may start to feel like yourself again. But I think that when you become a mom, you're not only birthing children, you're breathing a new version of yourself. Each new child shifts you, it changes you. You become better. I don't think you become worse. I think you become better. But it's all about outlook. And so the perception that nothing is going to change is just not true. It is going to change. Something will change. Um, your season will change. I know me. Like I feel like I shifted. I was all about my kids, 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 my kids. I don't want anything to happen to my kids. And before I had a kid, I was like, Mommy, I will be dropping those kids and going on vacation. Peace out. I don't think I've done that in 5 years. I don't think I've done that in 5 years. I took a trip and Lord, I cried when I landed because I was like, "Thank you, Jesus, for letting me land safely. Thank you, God. Please let me land back home safely." Because I was like, I want to be there. I want to be present, and life is so fragile. So yeah, people change. I think it's definitely natural that this job of being a mom is going to change you, is going to make you completely different. And that's okay. But we have to orient ourselves and shape our lives regarding the kind of parent that we want to be and be honest with ourselves. I am very honest with myself. And I know a lot of women who has sacrificed, the earning potential that they could have had because they're like, I'm gonna be present because it now is the time to be present, right? When your kids are young, they will remember that. They will love that. I spoke to someone recently who spoke about the fact that he took jobs, right? But his wife stayed back. And now she can take as much job as she wanted because, you know, they made a decision as a family that this is the kind of life that we want to live. We want one person to be present. One person has to be present in the life of the kids. And there is that shift, that change. There is a trade-off. That does not mean we cannot pursue our passions. I am an advocate recently of pursuing passions and, bettering yourself because I think that yes, there is a trade-off, but you are shifting and you're changing the perception that that child is going to have. They are seeing you pursue your passion. And so they're going to be like, I'm going to pursue my passion just like my mommy did. And we're setting the foundation so that they can better pursue whatever that they want to do. I still am of the belief that the same thing that my mom and my family said to me when I was younger is that heaven is the limit. I think for my kids too, heaven is still the limit. And I still believe for myself that heaven is still the limit. But, there are seasons in life, and this season is a season that I think is going to yield a lot of fruit. The work you do in the beginning is the work that's going to shift you, that's going to help you as your kids grow. They will be changed, they will be molded by that work that is done in the beginning. So I cannot believe that I've talked for a full 30 or so minutes. And so those are the perceptions that I have had. I would say 5 years later, oh my goodness, I love being a mom. I love it. It is so fun. You get to you get to go out and be a child. Literally, I feel like motherhood is reliving your childhood over again, which is why I think a lot of us parents get in trouble because we give our children the childhood that we wanted. So, like going to the pool, doing stuff like that, going to the museum, and giving our children experiences, you get to do a lot of stuff that maybe you did do it as a child and now you just want to do it again. And so you get to be a big kid or whatever it is. But I absolutely adore motherhood. I think it is hard. And I think like I stand by it. It's hard raising kids. You have to be intentional with raising your kids because you're raising yourself as well. You know, you're raising yourself. And so that is it. So 5 years later, I love it. Absolutely love it. Thank God for it. Thank God for my children. And I am excited for more 5 years. I was thinking about it earlier. I was like, oh my gosh, in 5 years, where would I be? Where would I be in the next 5 years? Hopefully in the grace and the under the will of the Lord Jesus Christ. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. I am excited to kick off. I will call it a brand new season of the Busy Moms Get It Done podcast. You will probably be having more episodes like this where I am like stepping in front of the camera and just sharing my thoughts and my processes. But most of the time, you will be having me joined by a lot of different women who are doing what I love, which is they are working moms, but importantly, they are being shaped by they can, being moms, right? Their perception has been shaped by motherhood. I am excited to discuss all things finance, all things fitness. I am on a fitness journey myself. So maybe if you want me to talk more of my fitness journey and what some of the things that I'm doing and I'm shifting, please comment below fitness or something like that. And if you have some discussions of the ways that motherhood has shaped you or changed you, or the perceptions you have of motherhood, please comment it below. Thank you all for watching, for listening, and I am so excited for this new, season or this new time, and I will see you next time on the Busy Moms Get It Done podcast. Love you. Bye. Have a good 2026, guys.